Today, my doctor told me something I didn't want to hear. And today, a stranger on the other side of the world believed in me before I believed in myself. No one wakes me up in the morning. No one shares any of this with me. But if you think living alone means being lonely, stay with me. I'll show you the opposite. Every morning, the alarm goes off and I get up. No snoozing, no lingering. Not because I'm that disciplined. It's because I live alone. If I ever get sick, there's no one to wake me up, no one to make me a bowl of porridge. Every 3 months, I come here. Not out of fear exactly. My doctor just told me that with a thyroid nodule like mine, regular monitoring is the only way to stay at ease. This is a private hospital in the city where I live. Not a public hospital, so I don't have to wait for hours. But it's also not as expensive as people might assume. The pricing here is quite reasonable, something that fits the budget of someone living alone like me. For anyone far from family, having a place you trust for checkups matters more than people realize. Have you ever gotten a health result that wasn't what you hoped for? How did you deal with it? While waiting for the results, I couldn't just sit still. Every time I stayed in one place, my mind started running through worst-case scenarios. So I walked around a little, watched people pass by, looked out the window, as if moving my body could somehow calm my mind down. There's a small canteen here that sells pretty much all the basics: drinks, snacks, tissues, a few everyday personal items. I stopped to grab a bottle of water, partly because my mouth was dry from fasting for the blood test, and partly just to have something to do while waiting, instead of staring at the clock. There's something I've always been curious about. Who's actually watching these videos, and where in the world you're all watching from. So if you're watching this right now, let me know which country or city you're living in. And if you don't mind sharing, what's the one thing you love most about the place you call home? The doctor said the numbers had shifted slightly since last time. Not enough to need surgery, but enough that I have to be more careful. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just went quiet for a while. Living alone teaches you that in moments like this, you have to become your own support system. Are you someone who tends to put off routine health checkups? What makes you avoid going the most? Today's total cost for the checkup was over $50. I'm currently in a bit of a tight spot, so I borrowed some money from a friend. I'll pay it back next month. I know apples are very healthy and delicious. In Vietnam, the truth is that most cheap apples under $2 may contain preservatives and may not be of good origin. As for good quality apples like these, they cost around $6, but I rarely eat those premium varieties because I can't afford them. I choose local fruits instead. I accidentally knocked a pear off the shelf. Just a small bump, but it left a bruise on one side. I couldn't just put it back like nothing happened, because if I did, whoever bought it next would be the one dealing with a damaged pear because of me. So I brought it to the counter and paid for it, even though I hadn't planned on buying anything else.
Đi quẹo cô đi. Ở nhà thôi. Sơ ri bán sao vậy cô?
I bought half a kilo of Vietnamese cherries for $1.20 per kilo.
Bỏ muối cho con nữa nha.
Cái gì?
50.000 ký chắc mà chặt lên sốt phải không? Nổi tiếng luôn mà.
Đang phải bút hả?
Đây, cái làm không cô?
This disabled woman sells lottery tickets. I didn't buy any, but I gave her a small amount of money. I know it's not much, but I love her. After a morning of working out and going to the doctor, I treat myself to a warm loaf of bread and a cup of sugarcane juice. Here, a loaf costs about 60 cents, a cup of sugarcane juice around 40 cents. Cheap, but somehow enough to turn a tiring morning around.
Anh ơi, một ly nước mía.
I'm so thirsty. I'll have a sip of sugarcane juice and eat lunch before I clean the bathroom. I fasted this morning for a blood test, so by now I'm pretty hungry. But there's something strange. Meals after mornings like this always taste a little slower, a little more appreciated. Eating alone isn't always as lonely as people think. Some meals, all you need is to be full, to be warm, and that's enough to feel grateful. No one reminds me to clean, but a tidy home always clears my mind a little. This piece I'm embroidering for a customer in the US. She's the one who first suggested I try selling embroidery, and she was also the first person to place an order, even before I believed I could actually do this. To me, that wasn't just a sale, it was a stranger believing in something I hadn't yet dared to believe in myself. A hand-embroidered piece like this usually takes anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, depending on the detail. No machine can replace it. Every stitch is real time, real patience. There are viewers who've never bought a piece of embroidery from me, yet they've quietly supported me through Ko-fi or Patreon, just to say, I want this channel to keep going. I don't always feel like I deserve it, but every time it happens, it gives me one more reason to keep filming ordinary days like this one. If you'd ever like to support videos like this one, I've left a Ko-fi and Patreon link in the description. Completely optional, just a way to say thank you if this video meant something to you. I've packed a lot of things in my life. Boxes when I moved apartments, gifts, old belongings I gave away, but no package has ever made my hands shake a little the way this one did. This isn't just a piece of embroidery, it's dozens of hours spent alone, hundreds of stitches, a very real piece of me, about to travel halfway across the world to someone I've never met, who believed in me before I believed in myself. Do you collect stamps? Is there anything here that brings back nostalgic memories for you? This park is right next to the post office. I'll come here to sit for a while and breathe in the fresh air. I like coming to the park at the end of the day, especially days as long as this one. Not to do anything in particular, just to sit, to breathe, to let things slow down for a moment. This morning I was anxious in a doctor's office. This afternoon, I sent a piece of my own effort to somewhere very far away. One day, but almost like a whole life in miniature, some worry, some tiredness, but also moments that made me feel trusted and appreciated. Living alone doesn't mean no one's beside you. Sometimes, just knowing that somewhere out there, someone believes in you, someone is following your journey, that's warm enough. Thank you for being here, for walking through a day like this one with me. A lot of you have left comments asking how you could help support me. Honestly, I'm not great at talking about this kind of thing, but I always keep the donation links pinned in the comments and in the channel's About section for anyone who genuinely wants to. I don't expect anyone to, just the fact that you ask, that you care enough to check in on me like that alone already means a lot. Thank you, truly.